I'm lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. What do I mean by that? I mean that I only talk to transportation professionals on this show. There's no theory here. This is all brought to you by people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so we can put the right information out there so you can apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. As you can see, I'm live from the TIA this morning. Normally I got the American flag behind me every single day, and I put it up there for a reason why I proudly fly it. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. As you can see, I got a special guest with me here, Mark with SPI Logistics, and we're going to talk compliance today. We're going to talk about vetting carriers. We're going to talk about all of that stuff. That is a persistent topic out there, but what's the strategy behind it? What's the why behind what we do with that? But before I do that, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers at some point in time. And the best part about with the tool that they have, you get paid to move these trailers. So if you're an owner-op or a small fleet, you don't have to shut your operation down anymore. If you have a trailer in the shop, you can jump on VHub and get paid to move these. So what they're working on right now is they have trailers in West Valley City, Utah, going to Calgary, Alberta, and you get $15.50 US to move that. They have Dallas, Texas to Long Sault, Ontario, and you get $7.50 US to do that. They have San Diego out to Houston, Texas. You get $800 to do that. And then they also have Paragould, Arkansas, going up to Mississauga, Ontario. And this is what's cool about this one. You can create a drop trailer pool with this because there's 150 of these trailers. And they pay $1,000 Canadian each. And you can jump on there and you can reposition them up to, say, over to Nashville or Indianapolis. They just got to end up in Mississauga out there. So you can offer that as a sales solution to any of your prospects, you guys. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. Just do me a favor. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. And we got stuff coming through. Introduce yourself to the world.
Well, hey, Chris, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me on. I love the show. I listen to it. I like how you keep it real. And again, big fan, man. Big fan.
I appreciate that. I also paid him $20 to say that, so I will be doing that. But no, I mean, we're out here at the TIA in Orlando, Florida, and dude, it's buzzing right now. We got a massive crowd behind us. You guys can't see it. But no, it's just good to be out here and hearing other people's perspectives, because I think sometimes we get caught up in how we operate in our day-to-day. We get bogged down in that, and we don't hear the perspectives from other people as much. And this is what I love the most about this event. And obviously the hot topic out there, well, really in any freight market, is going to be compliance, right? Like, because
Absolutely.
You need to vet your partners. And for my driver friends that watch the show, because there's a ton of you guys, you need to vet your brokers as well. You need to find out who you're working with. So like from your perspective, because you work in compliance, you do all this every day, what's the biggest oversight that you see by most people in this industry?
Well, the biggest oversight is people don't really want to do some of the due diligence, right? Because they look at it and they've got a quick load. They got to get it covered. They got a guy on the phone who's maybe going to give them a good rate. So they don't really dive down into the details. And, with just some of the right technology, some of the tools, they can get right into it and make it a lot easier for them. So I guess the biggest oversight is just not following through in some of the details, because they think it takes too much time.
Yeah. And I think like with the emergence of technology, so like if you're put yourself in the shoes of, because like I've bootstrapped all my businesses as I've grown. Technology is an investment that you need to make. Like there's no doubt in my mind on that. Where do you start? Like what's one piece to help with this? Because like I think if you don't have the money to invest in technology, I'm always about calling the insurance provider, verifying, getting that legal document from them that states, hey, this is the VIN number that's associated with this truck, this trailer. Mm-hmm. This is their actual policy. This is the coverages that they have. Is that what you would recommend?
Well, yeah. So you said, where would you start? Yeah. So I always like to start with the end in mind. right, without getting too winded here. And I would want to make sure that that carrier is going to pick up on time, deliver in time without any issues, right? We all wish that would happen, but we want to make sure we know who we're talking to. So, there's some tools out there, and TIA's got a great guideline. You can go to that guideline. It's going to walk you through, hey, this is what you should look for, but you definitely need insurance. You definitely need authority. You'd want to take a look and see if there's any type of safety issues, any ratings. And with what's going on in the market today with double brokering and some of the scams that's going on, you want to take a look and see if there's any freight guard reports and things like that out there. And there's other platforms out there that you can get into to get that to you at a couple clicks of a button. But definitely you want insurance. You want to make sure they got authority. And here's another thing too. You get these carriers who come in and they've been in the market for 30 days or less. I'd be a little leery of that.
So there's a lot of companies that take that stance. And I know there's a lot of business owners who take that leap of faith. They're new. They know they're new. Why is it a 30-day mark? Like, is that an arbitrary number that people come up with?
Yeah, I think because it's easy. It's an easy number, right? Their start dates. I mean, there's different brokerages that I know, and some of their standards are as high as 9 months. 9 months, 2 years, right? And then if you get in and you're moving some of the high value cargo, there's some different requirements that come with that too. So it's not like there's a hard, fast rule that says, oh, hey, it has to be 30 days. But typically what happens is people look at 30 days because they figure if it's a bad actor, if they're scamming or double brokering, by the time 30 days rolls around, they're going to get caught. There's going to be reports, and they shut down. They become a chameleon carrier. Reopen under something else.
So, what do you think? Again, because I want to put information out there that drivers who are, because again, as an entrepreneur, I'm trying to establish myself. I'm trying to do all that. What could somebody do to help show that, hey, I am the real deal?
Like, absolutely.
Like, what could a carrier say to a company who says, hey, I need 30 days? Well, what could they prove to that broker or that whoever that they're a real trucking company to get freight?
If I was a carrier and I was in that position, what I would do is when I haul my load, if I haul Chris Jolly's load, hey, Chris, can you go put a review for me?
Yeah, that's
right?
Pretty simple.
You think about that.
Yeah.
And I'm putting a review up, and there's multiple sites you can put reviews up.
Yeah.
If you haul, and not everybody's going to do that, but if you haul 15, 20 loads in a month, right?
Yeah.
And you get 10 reviews, that really, that boosts your recognition. And some of the software platforms that you see, and that's being exhibited here at TIA, they pull those reviews in and they give them additional rating points for that.
I think that's a great point in that. And it actually sounds simple, but I've never even thought of doing something like that, where we're out there, put those reviews out there. And I think that's where, it's a great opportunity to build, because I'm always about core carriers. Like, I believe in that. I know it's, again, that's what people are going to continue to talk about and be like, you got to abide by that 24/7, 365. I want to use the same carriers on at least 85% of my freight, because there's always going to be a sector of your freight that it's new opportunities or you're still establishing a relationship. But I think for the most part, people are moving a lot more consistent freight than they realize. They think that just because a load picks up in either Charlotte or Raleigh, that it's like an entirely different area. A lot of these carriers are regionally focused, and you got to develop that out. Find out what freight they want to run, not freight I want them to run for me.
Oh, sure.
That's where it has to be, because I think that's where that cohesiveness gets built up, because I want to work with the same drivers time and time again. And because frankly, I think that the more you focus in on that, is it going to be a little bit, I don't want to say more expensive, but it's like it's worth its weight in gold to pay the right carrier to do the freight, because I know how hard it is to onboard real customers.
Right.
I know how much work is put into it. Do I really want to risk that over $100?
Oh, no, you've done all that cold calling, all that relationship building. You get them on board and you put them on a carrier that's maybe been in business for a very short time and probably or may not have a good reputation. Yeah, you don't want to do that. But, here's the thing, too. A good carrier, if they want to have a good relationship with the same freight provider, broker or, agent model, something like that, because they know they're getting paid. They know we're very solvent. We want to give them freight too. So it's getting that understanding of each other's business needs. I mean, think about it. Anything that you do in business, it comes down to relationship building.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you find that common ground. Well, here's the common ground. They have a truck. We have freight. Let's put them together.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to identify the bad actors, because it hurts those carriers who do a great job.
Yeah.
Right. They don't want to deal with a broker who's been double brokered and they don't get paid. And then where are they at?
Yeah.
Right? So they want repeat business with us too.
So with the influx in fraud that's coming up, and it's even carrier payment verification and all of that stuff, where, how do we really combat it? Because there's going to be people talking and putting information out there from a certain perspective, but how do you, like, what are some telltale signs? Because I personally think, like, yes, double brokering is a massive problem. I personally,
it's a huge problem.
Yeah, Chris Jolly personally feels that the FMCSA doesn't give a fuck about it, and that's why they don't do anything about it. That's my personal opinion. But I also think it's very easy to spot. I think it really is, because the more and more I've dug into it, the more and more carriers I speak with out there, you can tell right away, because they're looking for the newness, I think, or the lack of give a shit in people's voice. And that's where they really capitalize. Not all situations. I'm trying not to make a generalized blanket statement, but I say this a lot. It's really tough to negotiate with somebody who knows what they're talking about. And when you go in there and you're selling freight, if you clearly don't care, oh, it picks here, it delivers here, I don't know, this is what it is, that's what they're looking for. But if you have somebody out there who's vetting them through the questions that they're asking, because it's not, let's talk for 30 seconds and get them off the phone. I want to talk to you for 2, 3, 4 minutes before I assign you to a shipment, because I feel like they're going to be more deterred early on, because they're gonna be like, what's it pay? What's it pay? What's it pay? That's all they're concerned
Well, so
about.
that's the thing, right? So the best thing is if you can reload carriers in your network. But if it's a new carrier and they call, some things to really watch out for, truly, is the rate that they're willing to take a load for too good to be true?
Correct.
That's one thing, right? Are they asking about quick pay right away?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your quick pay policy? When can I get that? What's that deal, right? If they're not, here's another thing too. Oh yeah, hey, I'm not in the office. Can you send it to my at Gmail account when you're looking at the company, and maybe it's at John Doe Trucking? It's like, okay, wait a minute, why are you using a different email?
Yeah.
So rate, email type stuff, things like that. And then quick pay. Those are 3 quick signs you can pick up on the phone. And you're right. You can get through somebody really quickly. Like, okay, something doesn't feel right here.
And here's another one too, is when you ask for driver information, if they say, I have a bunch of drivers in the area.
No.
Right there, that's a big telltale sign. And for me personally, because I've worked with plenty of truck, I jokingly say I've only booked 3 truckloads in my career, just because I'm a sarcastic asshole like that. But when I ask those questions, if they're like, I've never had a real carrier who said I have 5 trucks in the area, they'll, it's annoying to them, but they'll provide the 5 drivers that they have in the area. They'll be able to name their names, truck information, trailer information, all of that.
Right.
They'll do it. But the scammers, they don't have any intention. They're looking to get that quick dollar out of this situation. And I found that because, like, the more and more people I talk to for like risk mitigation and fraud and everything, that's what they say. They're like, it's a lot easier to get $100 from 100 people than it is to get 10 grand from one person. And that's what they look for.
And that's what they look for. You're exactly right. And here's another thing too. If you got a feeling like something may not be on the up and up, I'm going to send you a tracking link.
Yeah.
And I'm going to send this to your driver, and I'm going to need them to accept that. And then again, I mean, there's ways around it, but that's definitely a way to help mitigate some issues.
No, and again, I think like you have to actually take this seriously, right? Like you have to apply this stuff, because I've been in the industry for a long time. I know you have as well. This stuff is going to continue to cycle.
It is.
It's going to continue to cycle through. Things are going to happen with this, but again, you can't stop caring when you're making money, right? Like you can't stop caring when things are high, because it's like right now, as things are currently operating, now it's like a thing. And it's that reactionary mindset that a lot of individuals have.
Yeah,
you need to apply these principles 365 days a year. You can't selectively do this, because most of the times, man, it's too late. You're in the thick of it. You got that load being held hostage. You have that load stolen. Now it's like, oh, fuck, what do I do? What have you looked over for the last 5 years, 6 months, whatever that time frame looks like? That's where so many people get burnt, because it's oh shit, I'm in this situation. Well, wait, why weren't you doing this? Why weren't you doing this?
And again, I'm going to go back to what we talked about before, just a little bit of due diligence up front.
Yep.
And you're looking, are there any reports? How long have they been in business? And some of the providers here at TIA, they've got some solutions and some software that will link in, and they'll pull inspection records.
Carrier. Sorry.
Yep. they'll pull in different inspection links all the way down to the VIN number and stuff like that. That's key. That's important, because then okay, this is real. This is a good person. And reviews, right? Yeah. And again, if you're a good provider, good carrier, ask the person who's giving you freight to give me a review.
Yeah,
we'll look at that. You know, for us specifically, and it's not a plug for us, but you know, we've got a carrier scoring model that takes in a lot of different aggregates.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that because, like, obviously, it's no secret. My brokerage is through SBI. I have my freight agency through you guys. It is. I have to scream this from the mountaintops because it's true. The back office support that comes along with this is something that I've personally never experienced. Right.
Yeah.
And like the team and how like quick that they're there to answer these questions, to have this information for it. Like there is a real vetting process that comes into this.
Oh, absolutely.
But you know, it's also rest assured if you pass through that criteria, just like again, any any carrier out there, vet your brokers. You have access to a massive freight network that's out there at that point. And it's like, so what was it like from a compliance standpoint? What was it that was like, we got to increase our entire process with this, you know?
Well, okay, so obviously we know that there's some challenges with the economy, which it's still better than what it was in 2019, right?
Sure.
So that's something to keep in mind. But when those downturns happen, you have some bad actors that become more prevalent.
Yeah.
So, you know, what we do and what the back office does is we decide to say, okay, what other technologies out there? Because that's the thing too. Technology changes exponentially.
Yeah.
Right. And so now we're able to link in with some other technology and have access to data that maybe we didn't have in the past.
Yeah.
Right. So we bring that in, we link that together, and it helps identify some different flags to make it easier for our agents.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, our goal is to make it so easy for you guys, for our agents, to book freight. Right. It's hard enough calling a customer and trying to negotiate and do what you need to do. So we'll do the back end work. And so to answer your question in a long-winded answer, I think it's a change in technology and access to different data points and data signals that's really helped us propel where we're at.
Yeah. I think because like it's always a lot of people are always focused on like sales, right? Like that's their thing. They're like, I need sales, I need sales, I need sales. And I say this frequently. It's like you can have 1,000 truckloads, or you could sell 1,000 truckloads, excuse me. If you don't have anybody to pick it up, like your technology is meaningless, everything's meaningless at that point. You need to be able to operate this, and you need to have tools in place to help you operate in this environment. Because again, it's like you're only as good as your last truckload. No matter how anybody wants to spin it, you're only as good as your last truckload.
Yep.
And you have to have a mindset like that because it's always like, how do I continuously improve? How do I become more appealing to my shippers? Because it's like, it is competitive. I thrive on the competition. I fucking love that there's a lot of brokers out there because there's a lot of people that I get to prove why my operation is better than them, you know? And it's not hard to stand out in an environment where so many people don't care. Like it's very evident when they're the ones out there posting loads for $1 a mile. They're the ones out there doing. You're honestly, and this is why I brought this up, Mark. You are opening your door for fraud when they see that, because if they can get $1,000 from you, and then they can go and take that load and sell it for $2,000 to a carrier that they weren't going to pay anyways. That's a quick fix.
And then that carrier who actually hauled it, where are they going to go? How are they going to get that money? It's not fair to them, right?
They're the real victims.
They are the victim of it.
All of this.
They are. Absolutely.
All of this. It's the small fleets that are getting hung out to dry because they're taking a load. They're like, hey, this is market rate. This is awesome. I love it. They're not going to get that money. Or by the time they do, it's 6 months down the road.
And how much have they spent in legal fees and or their back office fees, right? These aren't big operations. They don't have an extensive network of resources to just spend to go get that money. You know, and here's the thing too, to really dive down into the carrier and have those conversations, they're people just like us, right?
Yeah.
They got their own things they got to serve. So what lanes are you having problems getting your trucks back?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, okay. So you're having a problem going from A to B. Let me go ahead and set you up this alert, and you're going to get alerted anytime there's a load in our network that matches what you want. And then you go through those types of things. It's getting to understand what the carrier's needs are, not just the carrier to meet our needs.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly it. It's like, man, I think that there's so much out there that people only focus on the high level issues, right? But it's like, again, I always want to bring the 101 information to the people out there. Like, where do I start? How do I start doing this today to protect my organization? And I want to put that, because like, I know, like, man, I have all these exact same questions and thoughts all the time with people. And to me, it's always going to be, if you want to really start building out your compliance network per se, you're a small operation out there. It's always going to boil down to taking, like, yes, the technology is great, make these phone calls. Make these phone calls to insurance providers. Verify this. Call the factoring company that they send the notice of assignment over. Call the factoring company and verify, hey, is this who they are? How many loads have they ran?
It takes a very quick call to get that information, right?
Exactly. And I say this a lot, is it's like take 2 minutes on the front end to save you 20 hours on the back end.
I mean, we've all been in this business for a while. So how long does it take to handle a distress load? Days in some instances, right? So, here's another thing too. And if somebody really wants to start out, they instead of doing it all themselves, they can stand on the shoulder of giants and become an agent.
Yeah.
Right. I've heard you talk about this on your show before too. If it's always this, if I knew now what I knew then, man, I'd have been an agent 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's true. And that's the thing is like, if you don't have like that, there is, I know it's a shameless plug and people are going to, but it's true. Like the support that's there behind you is unmet in any environment on your own, because you can just operate, right? Like, because there's a lot of people where, you know what, man, they want to do their own thing. They want to be their own boss. They don't want the risk, or they don't know where to start. And it's a good segue. There's a lot of people who jump out, they become agents, and you guys have seen it before. They go out and they have their own authority and they're everything else, and then they graduate through it. But there's such an opportunity out there for you to do this, and then you can protect your asset, your investment, which is your business as a whole. And that, like, you got to take this stuff seriously, because my biggest fear, and I also know that this is going to become a reality, is when things change, Mark, all of this shit's going to go away because people are going to be making money and they don't care anymore.
The market always changes.
Yeah.
It's going to change again. And that's another thing too. So when you talk about capacity in the marketplace right now, it's at a very, capacity. It's easy to get a truck now.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Than what it was a year and a half ago, right? Before you can get a customer load, but you can't get a truck.
Yeah.
So it flips. Now, when it flips again, you're right. We're going to be right back to the situation of what do we do and how do they handle that? And one of the nice things is having some support in the back end. They'll do that for you. It's steady. It's constant. 365. That's what I'm talking about.
Where do you see this all evolving to, Mark? Because I think, like, we're talking about where things are today. How do you think any of these individuals, like the fraud and the scam, they're gonna advance as well in this?
Of course.
Because, like, funny thing about criminals, you guys know they don't care about laws at all. Actually, that's why they're criminals. How do you see anything that has stood out when you guys are vetting and really seeing a lot of this stuff, like, shit, they're starting to take at this angle now? Have you guys identified any of those key traits?
Well, yeah. So you have a lot of different operations that are happening. When I say operations, it's criminal operations, right? And you got a lot of different things. We all know about how some of this stuff happens out on the West Coast in California. They'll bring it to warehouses. They break it down.
Glendale, California?
I don't know anything about Glendale, California, but
that's news.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but that's something that we've seen a lot of,
Yeah.
right? A lot of those operations. And then here's another big thing. It's spoofing, right? You download a spoofing app and you work through that, and they call you up and they catch a broker or an agent in the middle of doing too many things at once. And that happens. I mean, so right now we're seeing a big increase in operations, criminal operations out on the West Coast. And we're seeing a bunch of double brokering fraud where they have no intention of paying the victim, the carrier, right?
Because I think, like, there's a lot of opportunity out there, because, again, like, taking a lot of the situations that you have and, like, the freight that you're moving out there, create an SOP that you can deliver where, because I know I've moved a lot of high value cargo in my career. I've moved a lot of, because it's not always the high value cargo. It's almost the easy to offload on the street cargo. Like bottled beverages are boom. You can snack a truckload of that up and liquidate that really quick. So it's like having a policy in place that even if your shipper doesn't require it or your customer doesn't require it, you require it.
So you can get a list of commodities, right? So, and hey, these are commodities, high threat, high notice commodities, whatnot. But these are the commodities that anytime I'm going to move these, I need to be very careful of that.
Yeah.
And then there's things that you can put in place to mitigate some of that risk.
Yeah.
Right. And TIA's got some of the stuff listed on their website, but you can go in and I need tracking. The truck cannot be left unattended. You can't stop within so many different miles. Right. I mean, I've seen and heard situations where, and you got to be very careful. You can't tell the truck which route to take, but hey, listen, I need you fully filled up, team load, and you can't stop for at least 100 miles out, right? Because it depends. If it's a high theft, alcohol, high theft, right?
And because I've done that in the past where it's like, this was actually a requirement from the shipper. It's like they had to verify full tanks. They couldn't stop within, I think it was 250 miles of it. And there's also been loads where we've had to, and this is like coming from the shipper, like they'll advise, same thing. We can't tell them where to go, but they'll recommend have the driver take this route on this. We'll pay additional money for this because they've identified some stuff that's happening. And it is just to throw this off because like anytime that freight gets stolen, that is, I'll use like the stuff in LA last year with the trains and how like they miraculously knew what train cars had the TVs and stuff in it. It's all an inside job at that
Absolutely
point.
inside
it's
job.
all an inside job. So it's like the more and more that you verify the people and have these conversations, man, it's going to protect you and your customer. Because again, it's like, how do you stand out to your customers, right? You very rare, and I talk about this often, you very rarely get anywhere when trucks are showing up on time and delivering on time because that's the expectation, right? It's in situations like this, it's identifying, hey, why don't we do this with your guys' freight? I think most people would be shocked at how many customers are open to this because again, they're not, that's why they work with brokers.
It's not their core competency, right?
Correct.
So we're the experts. So, hey, be forthright about conflict, right? If there's an issue, here's what's going on. But before we get to that point, here's what we recommend. So it's almost like you're a supply chain consultant.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to help you, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, get this freight from A to B in a very efficient and, cost-effective manner that I can.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the thing. So I don't think a lot of brokers will actually pick up that phone and say, because they're happy they got that, especially in today's market.
Yeah.
They're happy they got that load. But hey, have you guys considered this? Have you considered that? And I think that's important.
No, right? it really is, man. And I think it is having, because that's what a partnership's about, right? It's not, it's got to, especially in freight as a broker, you got to balance all three sides. Win, win, win. Carriers got to win, customers got to win, we got to win. And frankly, if you are seeing any flaws or shortcomings, or there's an area of improvement that you can bring up, have those conversations every single time. Absolutely. Bring it up to them. Hey, I have other shippers who do this and I noticed you don't. Can we talk about this? You have data, you have actual experience to bring to them. That's how you stand out in a crowd, man. And most people, either they're going to be like, hey, thank you, or they're going to be like, actually, this is why we don't do that because of whatever reason. But again, you have to think as a broker, your top priority is always protecting the integrity of your customer's freight, because a lot of people don't see, they're like, hey, you're my shipper, you're my customer only. That freight, though, is going to your customer's facility.
That's right.
And that's where it's you have to look at that and have the end result in mind as you're breaking a lot of this stuff down. As you're trying to improve your compliance standards, if you're trying to separate yourself out there in the market, is that you need to put yourself in the end user's shoes. That's what you need to do. You need to put yourself in the person who's receiving the freight shoes. And I always look at it like this. A, how would I want to receive this information if I was in that position? Or B, how can I, as a service provider, protect your relationship as my customer with your customer? And that's how we have to look at this stuff and break this down, because it's not as easy as just posting loads and making a couple of bucks.
Right.
Because any trained person can fucking do that.
Yep.
That's not what's I'm not going to say you're not going to experience success in that, but if you want longevity, if you want to stop, because this is something that I get a lot of, is I want to be a premier provider. Well, why aren't you providing premier solutions to them above, hey, I can quote a truck for you?
Yeah. Well, what else can we do for you? Right.
Yeah.
How often do you ship this? Now, I'm not just looking.
Sorry, we had a little technical difficulties there, you guys. The Wi-Fi cut out. But, as always, you guys, I keep it real with you on this show because I'm out here trying to figure shit out and go as I grow. And we're pretty much right at the 30-minute mark, which I always like to keep my shows at, keep them action-packed to the point, because you guys all have jobs. You guys are all out there moving shit. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me.
We're going to do this again.
Seriously,
we really will. How can anybody reach out to find out more about you, SPI, or if they have any questions? They're like, hey, I own my own company, man. How does anybody reach out?
So they can reach out to me in my email, right? It's mfunk at SPI3PL. That's number 3. They can also reach out to us on our website, which is SBI.com, right? SBIlogistics.com.
Yep.
And they can also reach out to me on LinkedIn.
I love it.
So if anybody has any questions, insights, anything like that, listen, we're all in this together.
Yep.
That's really what it comes down to. So if I can help somebody, I will.
I love it, man. And as always, you guys know how to find me, and I'll put you in contact with them. But that's it for today, you guys, the Freight Coach Morning Show. We are the top podcast in transportation. And as always, if you saw value in this, subscribe and share the show. If you're following us over on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you're hearing this replay on the iTunes or Spotify, rank the show, get it out there, you guys, because if you see value in this, your network's going to see value in this as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks.